Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of Through the Mists. Glad to see everyone today. How are you all doing?
Hooray!
Hooray! Got some thumbs up, some waves.
Fantastic.
Excellent. And we have our guest spot. Adela is joining Lilith because she has Celeste there with her, and so, Lilith will be mostly the one on camera. Hi, Celeste. You can certainly
Hello.
try.
Oh,
The onesie just kills me.
I love D&D babies.
D&D babies.
Well, I was speaking with Adela's partner earlier, and he cannot wait for her to grow up so he can run D&D for her, which is I'm very excited to see. All right, enough about babies for now. Let's do a quick recap of the last one. It has been a couple of weeks, and I'm pretty sure Lyra was not here last time. Is that correct? All right, we'll do a slightly more in-depth one. The last time you were here, Lyra, you had just knocked a hole in that, strange wall downstairs. Is that correct?
No, they had gone back up. They did the hole in the floor in this hidden room and everything like that.
Wasn't that the last game? Did I miss something?
Did I miss something?
Right? Maybe we haven't had a game since. No. We did. So did you see the very large amber stone?
No.
Okay. So essentially, you guys had knocked the hole in the wall in that basement area, and you were looking through, and you were hearing the footsteps upstairs, and so you went up to investigate those.
Right,
After...
and then when I left off, they had entered the room with the lady with the cards.
Yes, gotcha. Okay, so you walked in. The card flew out of the pouch that Lilith had, landed on the stack of cards that were on the parlor table, and a woman had appeared and had said, that's where my card went, thank you, or something along those lines. And then we had cut scene, and then when we returned for last episode, the woman had asked if they wanted her to do a reading for them, and there was some kind of back and forth on whether or not they wanted to go after the footsteps that were upstairs that seemed to be moving throughout the house upstairs. And so you were kind of listening to the woman talk while kind of seeing what was going on. And then Dizzy and Lyra booked it for the front door. And the reading was a little sketch. It was a little bit like, well, has this already happened? What does this mean? I don't really know how to take that. Which, kind of like a tarot reading. You can take it how you want to. And so things seem to play out or have been played out kind of like the cards showed. But as Lyra and Dizzy walked out, you notice a large, a kind of a hefty, knightly figure that was obviously undead. There were bits of him rotting off. There was a huge gaping hole in his chest. His eyes in that hole were glowing. And he said that he would help you get out of this realm if you got his sword for him, because he was not allowed to leave the house. And so you had climbed under, he said the sword was hidden under the porch. And so you had gone out, bashed a hole in the porch, climbed down, found this kind of area where there were no bugs, and anything that was on it kind of grayed and looked sickly. And you dug up there and found the sword, returned it to him, at which point he said, I think he said thank you. I feel like there was a thank you involved, maybe not. And then he immediately stormed off and went down the stairs into the basement. Everyone was very irritated because that is not getting you out of this realm. And so
Rude.
You had followed him, trying to figure out what was going on. He jumped down the well. You guys, Twiggy flew down there. Everyone else climbed down, only to find out that he was fighting what appeared to be like a ghostly woman. There was a long bridge that had shattered but was held up with chains that were like connecting to each other, and there was just this massive chasm beneath it. There were rolling mists in the chasm, but no one could tell really how far down it went. And so you had climbed the chains and gone across essentially to figure out what was going on. In the end, they'd kind of slain each other, but I feel like one of you ended up getting the final blow on the fellow. Does that sound right? And then Lilith picked up his sword and proceeded to beat on the amber stone that was in like a large room. Like the only structure that was obvious still there. There was like kind of a I can't think of the word, not cathedral, but essentially like just a round domed structure, kind of like a gazebo but made out of stone. And inside this dreaded gazebo was this large amber stone, and something was moving around in it. And so Lilith decided to hack away at it and free this thing, which then a black misty form shot out and went up and disappeared through the rock. And then shit,
okay.
Right, and then shit fell apart. So as things were falling apart and like the chains were giving away and the bridge was collapsing, you all made it back across, ran up the stairs. The house is collapsing in on itself. You made it up to the kitchen, hurried out the front door. As that was happening, Lilith was the last one out, and she felt a shoulder, or a hand on her shoulder, and she turned to see the woman that had been giving the Taroka card reading. And the last card hadn't been drawn, and so she handed a card to Lilith, who looked at it, and it was named the Broken One and looked like a face of a person screaming in a cracked mirror. At which point everyone fled from the house, which is now sinking in upon itself. There's bits of stone flying up in the air. All of the wood is crushing in on itself, and there's motes of light floating around. You notice that the ground is starting to cave in, and you're just, you're like maybe 10 feet off the porch. The trees behind you, maybe 30 feet away, and you notice that the mist is kind of hovering in the trees. But the ground seems to be falling away from where the house was, and that chasm is starting to grow faster, and it's getting closer. What do you do?
Run away.
Everybody,
With the house sinking down, and us, we're not in the house anymore? We're watching it?
correct. Yeah, you were watching it as it's like the ground itself is like collapsing in, and you see bits of stone that was part of the foundation that is like cracking off and falling into the hole, but like the house itself is like compressing into itself. There's bits of like wood, and there's a sofa, it gets crushed in, and it looks like almost like it's imploding on itself.
Lilith is gonna kick a rock in and roll her eyes. Because, oh my god.
Yeah, you look around and there's a decent sized rock there, and you kick it.
Yeah, just kick it in.
Lara just, when Lilith does that, she goes, "Good riddance!" Get the house.
It's going to make renovations really, really difficult. But I guess we got a blank slate here. Just hope the foundation survives.
As you're all talking, it does look like that chasm is starting to get closer to where you're standing.
Lilith takes one step back.
Yeah, Lara's like, "Oh, it's good. Let's move this way a little bit. Come on, guys."
Yeah, as Lilith is like kind of one stepping it back as it gets closer and closer. Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm gonna just head out. Like, I don't want to be near this.
Okay.
So.
You want to head into the forest?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And Lyra, I feel like you were, the way you were describing it, you're a little bit further back than Lilith is. Are you lagging behind with her, or?
Lyra's kind of doing that thing where she's mostly following Dizzy, but she's keeping an eye on Lilith to be like, "Lil, come on."
Okay. And
go.
Twiggy, you're just kind of hovering there. Which direction are you going? Or are you just hanging out to watch?
I mean, kind of want to see how much foundation's left. I mean, 'cause this is definitely my new house. You guys can stay there if you would like. Even though there's not a house there anymore. But I will follow the crew to definitely, in extreme detail, talk about how it's going to be renovated, what it's going to look like, the first house party's going to be. It's going to be great.
Excellent.
Who is not on the invitation list?
As you're just kind of like hovering along and slowly following Dizzy as well, and Lilith is back-treading. Dizzy, as you head into the forest, you can feel this push. Like the mist is almost like a semi-physical form that's moving towards the house. And as it breaks the tree line, there's this almost popping sound. Like your ears feel it. And the mist just rushes forward. Lilith, it just completely encapsulates you. Like you see the house ahead of you, just kind of condense into this little moat that blinks like into darkness and light. And the mist shoots forward, and you see it disappear. Like as the mist solidifies, it's harder to see the house, harder to see it. And then there's almost this scream that you hear as the mist hits the light. And then everyone make a strength saving throw.
My God.
Okay.
Strength.
Strength saving throw.
Strong.
Nice. So Lilith, you managed to, as this buffet of sound and force and wind comes screaming out of the house, or what was left of it, and hits you, you managed to like raise your shield, and you're like gripping. Do you still have the sword in your hand?
I do have the sword in my hand.
So you have the sword in your hand, you raise your shield, and you like buff it against it, but you just see Twiggy like tumble, like this flash of color goes flying behind you, and Dizzy, you're running with it, and Lyra, you're kind of moving with it, so it's easier to keep up, but it does knock you both to the ground. Dizzy, you just kind of like go down to one hand and knee. Lyra, you're like kind of blown onto your side because you were looking back at Lilith, and you notice as you fall down, Twiggy just goes through the air, and then everything becomes dead.
I was just gonna try to like reach up a hand as she falls, like, you know how like you dive for a fly ball. She's like
Make a dex save.
Okay.
Or acrobatics. Whichever's higher.
We'll go acrobatics.
Okay. Not quite
Wow.
high enough. Yeah. It's because you're falling at the same time. You reach up your hand and like there's like a bit of glitter that streams off your fingers as he kind of bounces off your fingers. And then everything just becomes quiet. And it's almost shocking how you went from this gale force wind to like suddenly nothing. And the mist stops moving. And none of you can see each other right at the moment. Dizzy, what do you do?
I'm gonna call out to see if I can hear anyone and just kind of figure out what to do from there.
Okay. As you call out, you realize this happened before when you were in the mist, like it kind of dampens sound. So you call out and you don't hear your voice travel very far. But Lyra, you can hear him. Do you respond?
Lyra doesn't. Lyra, the house has made Lyra like not trust her own eyes and ears, right? So
I
she's
don't
like,
know why.
I wonder why. She's not going to respond yet, but
Okay.
like, can she tell? I mean, she's kind of familiar with the mist, right? Can she tell which way it's coming from?
Yeah, it seems to be kind of off that way. You just fell, so go ahead and make a survival check, kind of like tracking.
Yeah. Survival.
Yeah, you're pretty sure, even though you fell and you're feeling a little disoriented, you're pretty sure that's the way Dizzy went.
Okay. She's not gonna respond, but she is gonna head that way, kind of like unsteadily. Like she kind of like gets up, brushes herself off. She's like, kind of gets her bearings a little bit and heads towards Dizzy, but she's not responding yet because it could be Dizzy, it could be something else.
That's fair. That's fair. So Twiggy, you went like tumbling through the air, and at a certain point, you managed to like pull your wings up, and glitter goes flying everywhere, and you manage to bring yourself to a stop. Off in the distance, you think you heard Dizzy. You can make a survival check to see if you can figure out where it was.
Totally a strong suit. Super good at that.
Yeah. I mean, Lyra only had a +1. She got a 19, so.
True.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It was definitely off in the mist somewhere. But because you were like spinning through the air, you're not really sure where it was. In fact, at this point, you aren't sure which, like you're hovering, and so you feel like up is that way, but.
Well, I'm gonna try it again with Druidcraft. And see if I can't get some kind of compass,
Okay.
gravity pull. See if I can reconnect to the natural network,
Yeah.
so to speak.
You get a concept of which way is towards the ground.
Okay.
But
Well,
you don't
I know
really
where
get
I am.
you don't really get a feeling of direction, which is weird.
But that is the ground below me.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
definitely-
flying upside down.
You don't see it, but yeah, right down there somewhere is the ground.
But I am precisely where I need to be, which is above the ground, with the ground beneath my feet. This is a good start. And I am not visible by seagulls because it's foggy. So I think we're in a good position here. I'm gonna hold and listen.
Okay.
Just pay
So,
attention, just see what's going on.
well, as you like stand up straight after the wind calms down, there is a very muffled noise that might have been somebody calling out. It was behind you, but other than that, what would you like to do? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Is she having issues?
Uh-oh.
She is on mute.
I will come back to you? Yeah? No? Yeah?
Oh, me?
Oh, yeah. Did you
Oh.
hear me? Okay, so after the wind stops buffeting you and you stand up, you definitely hear like somebody shout out, but it's very muffled. You can't really make out what
Okay.
it was. And you can tell it was from behind you, but other than that, there wasn't really much in the way of direction.
What a ding dong. I totally thought you were still talking to Twiggy, and I was like, oh, cool. Cool. Continue on.
It's
Okay.
all good.
I would like to the tried and true. I want some Twilight Sanctuary going
Okay.
on. And I want to rumble a Thume and say, hey, you guys, where are you?
What, remind me what the Twilight vision gives you. Is it dark vision or is it something different?
Twilight Sanctuary. Holding my symbol, there's a sphere of light 30 feet around me, filled with dim light, and it moves with me. Let's see. And it doesn't say what kind of vision it is.
Okay. I just want to make
It's
sure it wasn't
mostly-
like giving you some kind of true sight or extra
Yeah, no.
perception. Okay.
There's no extra perception. It just helps me, or it like it helps me, or it adds some extra effects of frightening
Gotcha.
or charm
Right,
to other
right.
people. So
All
it's
right.
just an illumination that kind of helps.
So the kind of like gray mist around you fills with a purple light, and you call out into the mist, Lyra and Dizzy, it's pretty clear as Lyra, as you're heading off towards where you heard Dizzy, you can hear Lilith shout out.
Okay. Lyra's gonna cave, right? She says cave very specifically. She's gonna be like, this way! And she's like almost close to Dizzy, I would assume, at this point, maybe.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Dizzy, it's shocking how close Lyra's voice is because you can't see her.
Right.
What do you do?
I'm gonna head a little bit towards Lyra to see if I can kind of, meet up with her.
Yeah, you take like 3 steps and Lyra's like right there.
Okay.
Like, yeah, boom.
Fortunately, you can see her because like it's not like a dark issue, but like she's like all of a sudden out of the mist right there.
Mm-hmm.
When Dizzy appears, Lyra just goes, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, this is weird. I can't wait until we're done with this.
You and me both, Dizzy. You and me both.
So Lilith, you heard Lyra call out. It was muffled, but you get a sense of where it was.
Yeah, I'll head toward Lyra while I'm taking a rope and putting a little knot in it, like kindergartners.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they have to cross the street holding onto a rope, and their little knot.
Yeah,
So
only
we're just kinda
kindergartners. No
like-
adults have to do that.
So I'm gonna get my rope out and kind of roll my eyes, like, oh my god, this mist, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
And hand part of it to Lyra and hand part of it to Dizzy.
Go
and
ahead and just make
try and
me
head off.
a survival check real quick.
Sure. Let's see how we do.
Nice. Dizzy and Lyra, what are your passive perceptions?
Lyra's is 18
Okay.
because of
Mine
that dagger.
is 11.
11. Okay. So you hear footsteps, and they kind of seem to be all around you. Like they're kind of there in front of you, and then they seem to be moving over there, and then there's some in front of you. But Lyra, you kind of are able to focus in, and some of them sound almost echoey, but not. It's just like a play of the sound. You realize they're all coming from the same direction, and Lilith walks right by you. Like out, you don't see her, but you can hear her approach, or rather, you're pretty sure you've been around Lilith. She has like a pretty heavy footfall. She's a big woman, and she has some armor and everything. She definitely makes noises you're used to, and she walks out of your sight, but she is past you.
Can Lyra like reach out through the mist to try to like grab her?
So,
Like,
yeah, you could like
"Good."
you could like reach out. You might have to take a few steps forward.
All right, she's gonna like literally just like grab Dizzy's wrist and like take a step and reach for Lilith.
Yeah.
Right? To be like, "Huh!"
Yeah. You manage, like, Lilith, there's like a hand on your armor all of a sudden, like the tabard that you wear over your armor gets snagged all of a sudden.
All right. I'll be like, whew.
Make
Lyra.
me a charisma saving throw, Lilith.
Who? Lilith. Ooh, that's me.
Oh boy. Yay.
Okay. As something grabs you, this like fight or flight instinct takes over. You're not really used to it. Like you are pretty in charge of your emotions. You don't often feel frightened, but yet there's this jump in your heart and like a lump in your throat, and you raise that sword and like look behind you, and Lyra is standing there, and so you immediately calm down. But it's very odd.
Lyra, you scared me. I need a drink.
Same, girl, same. Just
While this is
same.
going on, Twiggy, make a perception check for me.
the most perceptive in the entire party. How do I do that? There we go.
Nice.
Ooh.
So you're hovering there. You've used your magic to kind of get your senses, and as you're using your magic to figure out which way is down, but it doesn't really give you a sense of which way is north, for example, you do catch sounds that are kind of flitting around you, and the magic seems to make them a little more solid, a little more understandable, and you can hear the group like calling out for each other and talking, and you're pretty sure they are down and in that direction over there.
Okay, well, I'm gonna fly horizontal so that I'm above
Okay.
when I theoretically reach them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know where down is, but like diagonals are probably dangerous, you know, and you know, poor visibilities. But try and stay on this horizontal plane here.
You never know when a seagull might come flying out and just
You
collide.
never know. You never know.
Right.
You never know.
They are the worst.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you fly over and they're fairly close. You can't see them, but you can hear them down below.
Gonna just kind of slowly make my way down, like elevator style, just to kind of see what the distance is between like sound and sight.
Sure. Dizzy, you're the first to notice because Lilith and Lyra are kind of interacting with each other. Like this orange furry fairy with bright blue wings just kind of lowers out of the fog around you.
Hey, I'm gonna try to reach out and grab him.
Okay. Make an attack. Just make an attack.
I envision like a spastic ninja.
And like a ninja, you just pluck Twiggy out of the air.
His eyes bulge out a little bit, you know. Squeaky toy. Probably makes a squeaky toy
It's
noise.
at this point that Disney reveals that he's had a pet seagull the entire time.
Oh no!
Just
Master, I have a
kidding.
meal for you, a
Right.
sacrifice. Bestow upon me your seagull power.
After you grab Twiggy, do you do anything?
I'm just gonna address the group and just ask, like, what should we do? I mean, I don't know if moving in this fog is a great idea, but we can't just stand here.
Town's pretty close by, I'm pretty sure, because where there's a house, there's other houses which make a town, and in that town there's going to be a shop, and in that shop there are going to be the materials we need to totally refurbish and rebuild the house.
You're very optimistic.
Lyra
I
literally
mean-
just goes like under her breath, just yep.
It'll be
Lilith
great.
is kind of over this. She wants to, for an action, do Eyes of Night.
Okay.
And this is, you can share your 300 feet dark vision with up to 3 willing creatures that you see within 10 feet of you for an hour.
Okay.
So I would like to do that.
Okay.
And see if that helps us at all.
It does enhance for... I think the only one who doesn't have dark vision already is Twiggy and yourself. So yeah, it kind of enhances a little bit, but a lot of this is more like an obscurement because of fog rather than the darkness. Where you are, you don't know what you're going to end up running into as you head out. So it may become more useful here shortly.
Right.
If we had a fan, that would probably do what we needed to do. Like, anybody have a fan? We just blow on it really hard, and it would probably go away.
I don't have a fan. Do you have a fan? Can you use your wings as a fan?
Yes, obviously. Yeah. move the fog out of the way, so I've got like a little fairy-shaped tunnel that I can go through. I'm certain that doesn't work, but
I mean, you try it, and like the fog does like move with your wing beat, but then it just kind of rolls up behind you and continues to fill in. So you are moving mist around you, but not so much in a way that gets rid of it.
it's totally working.
Well, can
Just need some
we?
more time.
Does Lilith have any idea of the direction we came from? And, like, that way, we just came that way, so we could potentially go this way. Does Lilith have any idea about that?
So, I mean, if you're all still standing kind of like you were when you found each other, then you were coming from back that way, which is in the direction of the house. But as far as how you got to the house, like you woke up laying out on the yard outside the house, so
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Lilith is gonna propose that we go away from the house.
Okay.
So if we can deduce that the house is behind us, we're gonna go forward and see what we can see.
Is everyone good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Just need to move your arms, kind of, with me, like in rhythm. It'll work. It just it takes a lot of believing. It's like clapping your hands a lot. To show that you really believe. Not that that's a copyrighted thing. Mm.
The next time you're making death saves, if everyone's clapping over you, I'll give you advantage. But that has to be their action, is clapping over you. Right.
We believe.
All right, so Lilith suggests you all head that way, which is as far as she can deduce away from the house, or where the house was. And everyone agrees and starts trudging off that way. It's really hard to gauge time here because there's no movement of the sun, there's no stars, there's no moon. It's just kind of this endless rolling mist around you. And you can't really tell what's moving the mist. Like, as you move through it, it definitely like has a reaction to you, but you can see that it's also moving like off over there, and that's moving like it's almost alive or something. And every so often you hear footsteps that aren't yours, or you'll hear someone breathing that you realize suddenly isn't in your group. You hear a wagon roll by, but you don't see anything.
It's not uncomfortable at all.
Great.
Every so often you'll notice like a dimming of the mist around you, almost like something just out of sight is moving by you, but if you move to look for it, there's nothing there. Lilith, make a intelligence check. And actually, Twiggy can either help you or roll as well. So if Twiggy helps you,
I will totally aid.
Okay, so roll at advantage, Lilith.
Let's see here.
But it's an intelligence check. I don't know if that's going to be very helpful coming from him.
Did that go through?
I don't see it. Oh, there it goes.
There it is. Okay.
There's one. All right, so as you're walking along, you're kind of replaying the last several minutes, essentially, in your head of what happened at the house. And you remember that when the woman that was giving you the card reading, she had laid out the cards and she was getting ready to turn over that last one. She had said it will show you where you need to go, or it will give you a sign of where you need to go, essentially. And then everything kind of went sideways and she'd never flipped it over. But then when she showed up next to you, she gave you a card.
That's right. She did. And Lilith forgot what was on the card.
I can remind you if Lilith takes it out.
I would like that. Lilith is going to take out her card
Okay.
and,
So you,
and let everybody know what she said
Okay.
to her.
and so as you take it out, you look at it, and the one side is like just a kind of a typical backing of a card. There's like a design on it, but as you look at the front, it the title of the card at the bottom says The Broken One. And it looks like a mirror, essentially, that has fallen and shattered, and in it is a reflection of a man screaming.
Fantastic.
But as you're looking at it, the man's eyes, of which there are a few, because it's like shattered, and so you're getting like some multiple reflections, they all like flit towards you.
Oh my god. I'm going to ask if anyone else saw that.
Was anyone so Lilith explained what she was thinking and took out the card. Was anyone else looking at the time?
I was not.
Lyra was too busy looking around them as well.
Sure.
Okay, so Lilith is going to hold the card and just ask it which direction to look, in what direction they need to go.
Gotcha.
And see if it answers her.
So the man in the reflection continues to stare at you, but it kind of looks like he begins to move, because like the visage in the mirror, there's like this movement towards it, almost like he's circling around.
Okay.
And if you were to guess, he's kind of pointing you off that way to the right. And he glances up.
Lilith is going to use that, like, pointing north, you know, she's going to use it as her little totem, and tell everybody that we need to follow the card.
Okay.
And it says this way. We're going to go that way.
Twiggy, you look so thoughtful right there. Like, do I want to do this?
I mean, can you actually follow a card? Cards don't have legs, obviously. Yeah. I'm gonna see if this card can. I don't know. Where's this card going? Find out.
Okay. Dizzy, are you good with following the card?
Yeah, I'll follow.
Okay. Lyra?
Lyra's just like, sure. We'll follow a weird sentient card. Why not?
Okay. So Lilith, they kind of group behind you as you are following this card, and every so often it's weird because it kind of turns. Like if you were going towards something, wouldn't it just stay straight? But it leads you like in this kind of winding through the mist, and every so often you get the feeling like there's something around you, but you look and there's nothing there, and you'll catch sense of like really hot sand or something, and then there'll be nothing for a while, and you smell this like kind of boggy peat smell. It's like very sulfuric and very gross, and you're just like, what is that? And then it fades away. And again, you hear noises every so often. You see shadows flit around you, but as you continue on, you actually almost don't notice it at first. There's this lightening of the mist, like this thinning. We'll call it a thinning of the mist, and you begin to see shapes that have more than shadow. There are trees around you that look kind of like fruit trees. Like there's that over there is definitely like an apple tree. There's fruit hanging off it. It has like a very subtle redness to it. And as you continue on, you walk out of the mist and you're in an orchard. Looks like an apple orchard. It's very gray out, almost like a very stormy day, and you look up and there's very thick clouds, but you're no longer in the mist.
You know, Lilith really likes this. She likes the forest. So an apple orchard, that's a close close second to a forest, and she's digging this. She's gonna take an apple and pick it and eat
Okay.
it.
As you move forward and you like go to grab an apple off the tree, you're looking at the apples on the tree and they look like they're ripe or coming close to being ripe, but it looks like all over the ground are all these ones that have fallen off and begin to rot. So it's obviously no one has been out here to harvest these apples. And you take a bite of the apple and it tastes great.
I'm gonna look at everybody and shrug my shoulders and keep eating that apple.
Okay.
I mean, if that card can lead us to apples, maybe it can lead us to a shop. Can you just give your request to like, hey, card, like take me to this shop, or is it like, no, I just want to take you to this like apple place? Not that I'm complaining, because apples are great, but
Yeah.
does it know where it's taking us?
As you're shouting at the card, you notice that it has returned to the original placement, like the man standing there and he's not moving, and it looks like he's caught in a mid scream.
Typical.
I'm gonna ask the card to take us to a shop and see if it'll change for us.
Sure. Yeah,
Why
you
not?
you
Why
ask
not?
it, nothing changes about it. Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm just gonna look around and try to get my bearings. So like the fog just kind of disappeared, right?
It is behind you. Like there's definitely a
Okay.
bank of like a huge wall of fog. It goes up into the sky, and you're not really sure where it ends or if it ends because the sky is just covered in, and you can tell the difference as far as these like gray clouds compared to the mist. But
Right.
you're just not really sure from your perspective where the wall of fog ends.
Okay. And is there like any indication of like any life like outside of this area or?
Go ahead and make a perception check. Nice. So you're looking around, and the trees are pretty close to one another. Like you're in a row of trees, but because you are in the row and you can see the end of it, you do notice that there looks like there's some tools laying down at the end of the row. Some baskets, what looks like I can't think of what it's called, like the branch trimmers. Are kind of like just laying in a pile, and beyond that it looks like the clouds are darker, like almost black. They're like a sooty dark gray, and they almost don't look like clouds, they almost look like the mist, but way darker.
Okay. I will relay that information to everyone else.
Okay. And Lyra, what are you doing?
Lyra is like very suspicious as to like how they just like magically got out of the mist, because like I don't know, she hates this mist. She hates this mist. Like, with a capital H.
Take me back to the carnival. At least there was something I could stab there.
Right? Right? She's like, I can't stab an apple tree. I mean, maybe
you
she
can.
Could, but, like, she could, but maybe she shouldn't. So, I mean, she's gonna like watches this card, like it's like, oh yeah, like shop and apple, like, and she's like, I don't like this, but she too is going to reach up and pluck an apple. Now, she's not gonna eat it. I mean, she's a wood elf, so you know, plants. And she's looking at this apple of like, is this actually safe for Lilith to be eating? And she's gonna like continue on with the group, but like she's examining. She's
Yeah.
examining the apple.
Go ahead and make
She
a
does nod at Dizzy as
nature.
Dizzy kind of like explains, but like, yeah. Nature.
Yes,
nature,
please.
Nature.
Nice. It is a completely safe apple to eat, as far as you can tell. Like, it looks ripe, and it's normal looking. It smells right. There's no like weird funk to it. As far as you can tell, it is completely normal apple.
Okay. she's still so suspicious. She's like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Okay. She'll deal with the apple then.
Okay.
She'll deal with the apple.
So what do Lilith just stepped away, so we'll go with Twig. Oh, maybe she's back. So for Lilith and Twiggy, the card hasn't done anything. The apple tastes great. Dizzy has pointed out that there is like stuff at the end of the row. You can't see the other end of the row because it disappears into the fog. So it kind of like opens up on the far side, and there's like some tools and baskets laying down there, and then there's like this smudge of darkness over the horizon.
I mean, we should probably not go toward the smudge, but I feel like there's going to be answers if we go toward the smudge.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell what's on either side because of the trees. So right now your option are walk through the trees or head towards the smudge, or you could go back into the mist.
You know what? I like trees. Lilith would like to go through the trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's
Unless people are just really adamant about the smudge, in which she doesn't totally care. She's like, meh, I like apples.
What's everyone else think? Does anyone not want to follow Lilith?
Lyra's following Lilith, but only because she's like, listen, every time I've left Lilith by herself, she's died. So.
I mean, you're not wrong.
That was one. That was one.
Checks out.
I mean, it hasn't happened any other time, so Lyra has nothing to prove her wrong.
Oh my god. At least I wasn't attacked by furniture.
Okay.
Okay.
No, the trees seem less ominous, so
Okay.
I feel like that would be kind of fun. Plus, we know that there's food at least here. Otherwise, the darkness. I mean, sure, there's probably some answers in the darkness, but maybe we need to do stuff before we go there first.
Okay. So Lilith and Lyra start walking off. Are you going left or right?
Anyone have a preference?
Nope. Lyra's following Lilith. She's following Lilith.
Lilith is gonna make a right.
Okay. Dizzy and Twiggy, are you going to follow?
Yeah, I'll follow.
Okay.
I'm gonna flit into a tree, nearby tree, and go up to the top of its crown, but stay just at the edge of the crown.
Yeah.
And get my eyes up above the top, because there still may be seagulls, and I don't want to be out in the open. But do I get a view of kind of the orchard proper?
Yeah, you do. So you slowly stick your head up, and you kind of have to like raise up a little more than you're comfortable with, because like the trees they're not all the same height, and so you kind of have to get a little higher. But you manage to kind of catch that the direction Lilith and Dizzy and Lyra are heading, it looks like it opens up several rows over, and there's an empty space. You can't see what's in the empty space, but then probably 30 feet beyond that is another orchard. And then if you look the other direction, you see it just kind of goes off, and you notice that the wall of fog curves and cuts off any more sight, so you're not sure if there's anything that direction ahead of you. So straight out from the wall of fog, you notice that you can't see the source of it, but it looks like maybe there's a fire or something. It's hard to gauge how close it is because you can't see many details on the ground, but it looks like there is like smoke or something rising up, and it looks like the wind caught it, and it's just smudging across the sky. So it looks just like somebody took a paintbrush of black paint and just like swiped it across the sky. There's definitely something over there, but from your vantage point, you can't quite make out what it is.
All right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like that's probably all you see from where you are.
Just gonna flit from crown of tree to crown of tree to
Okay.
keep up with the group, while also keeping cover from loud, feathered fiends. Yeah.
Okay. What is your passive, Twiggy?
Super high, probably the highest out of everybody.
It's like 11 or something.
So observant.
So high.
The most. He's so high. 12.
12. I was close.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Lilith, Dizzy, and Lyra, so you're like creeping through the trees, and there's like this kind of sour smell as you step on. They're hard to avoid. There's these rotting apples that some of you step on, just intermittently. But for the most part, the orchard just has that like sweet apple smell. And after a few rows, like 6, Lilith notices that there is, it is the last row ahead of her, and she can see that there's an open space, and just catches sight of what looks like another orchard of some kind. Not the same. The trees look different. And as Lyra and Dizzy catch up with Lilith, you two can also see this. Let's focus on the three of you first. What do you do?
I guess go to the open space.
Okay. So Lilith steps out. Dizzy, are you heading out as well? Or are you going to wait and see what happens?
I'm going to kind of follow behind and then, just kind of be on the lookout. Because, if you step out in open space, you're probably going to get attacked or something like that.
Gotcha.
So...
And Lyra?
Lyra is kind of like, she's gonna like hang by like the last tree at the edge line, right? And just kind of like, go get him, Lilith.
Right. You're both doing the I've got your back way back here.
Oh my god.
Excellent. Twiggy, as you're kind of like following them and fly hopping from tree to tree, and you all can hear him like fluttering and like landing in the trees. It's not super.
Oh, he's not at all quiet about it.
Okay.
He's definitely like doing the James Bond, or Mission Impossible theme song, as he does it, or whatever the Faerunian equivalent is.
Right.
Mordenkainen's spy sneak song.
Excellent.
Or whatever. Yeah.
The Pink Panther.
There's a lot of crashing. There's a lot of crashing into the tree, like bursting out, leaves going.
Because you got to do it
twigs
fast,
scattering.
because they could just swoop down and snatch you out of
Seagulls are
thin air,
fast.
so,
They will steal your sandwich. They will eat your fairies. That will happen. Yeah, it happens.
So you can see as you're jumping to the last tree, Lilith has stepped out, and Lilith, as you step out, it looks like you're in a garden area. It continues to be like an area that's being, something's being grown in, but instead of like trees and such, you see a lot of vine plants. So from where you are, you can tell that there are some squash near you. Those over there might be potatoes. I don't know how knowledgeable Lilith is on her farm plants, but it looks like there is an open area that has patches of essentially vine grown plants, or you notice some like there are sections that are also like in-ground vegetables, like carrots, stuff like that. And then on the other side, and what you stepped out onto is essentially a path, and you notice there are several paths that kind of intersect in between these patches. So if there's a patch like this patch of squash, there's a path that goes in between that and this patch of potatoes. And then on the far side is, you're pretty sure those are orange trees.
think any paths have been used more than others? Like, could Lilith do an investigation on maybe
Sure. Yeah, go ahead and do
where? So
You could either do investigation or survival, whichever's better. Because you're looking for tracks.
do survival.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw a couple of things at you because as you step out in the open, there's no trees necessarily blocking your view of some of the areas you couldn't see before. So you step out, you see all of this, you're looking around for tracks. It does look like all of the paths that you can see details of are pretty equally used, but it doesn't look like they've been used for a while, and you can tell that there are rotting vegetables on some of the vines. Like some of them are still growing, some of them are ripe, some of them have like reached the point of being ripe and are like now beginning to over-ripen and rot. It's like no one's taking care of this stuff out here. But as you glance off to your left, you do see that smudge of darkness over the skyline. It looks like smoke coming up from something just over the horizon. Like there's probably a dip, or you're like on a hill. It's kind of hard to tell.
Lilith sighs to herself and looks at everybody and says, I think we have to go toward the smoke if we're going to get any answers or get out of here. Let's go to the smoke and see if anyone wants to follow.
Okay. Dizzy and Lyra, you're kind of standing there waiting to see what happens. Lilith says, let's go to the smoke. What do you do?
I'm just gonna look at her quizzically and just, where there's smoke, there's usually fire and bad things. So why do you want to go?
Just because we need answers and we need to get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, just be careful, I suppose.
Lyra is she's looking and tell me, Jared, this is overstepping if you want me to roll for this, but from what she knows, oranges and apples and potatoes don't all grow in the same place.
Gotcha. Temperate zone wise, I can't think of.
Right.
Yeah, I got
right.
it. Gotcha.
Yeah. So she's like, okay, all right.
It does seem like right now it's overcast, so you definitely feel like, especially like the orange trees need more sun. So maybe it's just a cloudy day. As far as the soil type and all of that stuff, maybe it's just like that here. You're not really sure. You can't think of anywhere.
Maybe it's magic.
Yeah, and you can't think of anywhere that you visited in Faerun that necessarily grows like this, but maybe it's possible. Okay.
So she's just gonna kind of let it go. She's like, okay, all right, you know what? Fine. And she'll be like, all right, fire. Lyra doesn't like fire, so she sees the smoke and she's like, She's like, all right, fine, let's go. Where's Twiggy?
Where
she's
is
like
Twiggy?
looking over her shoulder. She's
What's
like,
Twiggy
where's
doing?
Twiggy? Where's Twiggy?
Bursting out from a tree, bursting into another one.
So you're in the last line of trees. So if you want to,
There's an opening. There's open air.
Yeah.
Oh God! Well, I burst out. I find that out. I'm going down. No, you can't leave yourself in the open like that. They'll get you. I'm gonna try and put myself between, targets that clearly cannot fit into a seagull's mouth, like Lyra or Dizzy. They can't be eaten by a seagull. So the seagull comes in to eat me, they'll try to eat them first, and then they'll realize that this is a futile attempt, and they'll just give up.
So Lyra and Dizzy,
I will have protected them.
As you're kind of like stepping out, Twiggy like zooms down and kind of does this figure 8 pattern between the two of you. and he's staring at the sky, making sure there are no seagulls coming down. Dizzy, you're definitely used to this. You've been traveling with Twiggy for the last several months, and Lyra, you're also used to Twiggy, but it has been several months since you saw him, and so there's I feel like there's a getting used to this time period. But Lilith heads off towards the smoke. And everyone's following after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Reluctantly, but yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of like, kicking some rocks, scuffling your feet, you follow behind her, and you're keeping your eye out. And as you get near the end of these two orchards, you see it opens up into a... you definitely have been heading slightly uphill, and it kind of crowns, and you notice there are these two structures, one on either side. They look just like small one-story farmhouses. You don't see any people, and you don't see any lights on, which it's overcast. It's not necessarily dark. Although inside on an overcast day, it can be kind of dark. You don't notice any lanterns in the windows. What do you do?
There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. That's suspicious to Lyra. She's like, it didn't look that decrepit, the orchard, right? Like, she's like, hello.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. You don't see any people, and you do notice that there are like stacks of like harvesting tools nearby and such, but no people, no signs of. There's no chimney smoke coming out of either of the places. There's a little bit more to go uphill before you reach the crown to see over the hill.
Okay.
So you can continue going straight. You can go left or right and arrive at one of those small farmhouses. You can go back into the orchard.
We should definitely go to the farmhouse.
Yeah, Lyra's like, I have a farmhouse,
Okay. Kitty cat!
Cuddy.
We love babies and pets here, people.
Right? Sorry, and every time I'm just like, yay! Do you go left or right?
Hey, what does that card say? Does the card say anything?
Lilith checks the card, and it's just stationary again. It looks like a normal card.
Which way is it staring? Like,
So as he's screaming, his eyes are closed.
Oh.
Huh.
That's not helpful.
You go right. To the right. Let's go to the right.
Okay.
To the right?
When in doubt, go right is going to be
Always go right.
Yeah, it's going to
Always
be
go right.
this group. So you head right, and as you do so, the hill, the crown of the hill kind of drops down a little, and the house sits what looks like it's going to be overlooking the other side of the hill. So you raise up a little, and as you get closer, you see this drop down. It's not a valley because the other side doesn't open up. There's just water. Looks like you can see an ocean on the far end. It looks like it's quite a ways away. It's kind of hard to tell, but there is a city between you and the water, and from that city is rising this smog, just this like immense collection of chimneys belching out dark smoke that's just combining, and the wind is smearing it across the sky. You don't recognize the city. It's very drab, dark stone. There are no walls, but or at least there isn't like a defense wall around it. And you do notice that there are paths that head into it. You can tell as you get closer to the house that there is like a footpath that heads down towards the city.
No, well, we found town, and totally going to be a shop there. And where there's a town, there's a bar. And where there's a bar, there's a tavern.
Where
And
there's
where
a
there's-
bar, there's a Lyra.
Already there.
Wait,
Already there.
but aren't you... Wait, so there is another Lyra here? Are there usually, like, just more Lyras in a tavern? Or is it...
They were just like face palms. She was like, let's go get a drink, Twiggy. Let's go find a
Yes!
drink.
Yes!
Okay.
All right, so it looks like Lilith, Twiggy, and Lyra are detouring from the house towards town. Dizzy, what are you doing?
They mentioned tavern, so it's like, tavern's a good place to get information, and I can also, try to see if we're in a place where people know me.
Okay. So as you all head out, there's a gentle downhill slope that you're following, and you begin to realize there is a river that is cutting through the land off to the left. Probably comes out somewhere up by that other house or further beyond that, and empties out. It goes through the town and empties out into the ocean. It takes you a couple of hours to walk to it. It was pretty far away. But as you get closer, there's just this like sting in your sinuses from whatever that is, whatever that smoke is. It doesn't smell like wood smoke. It's weird. You've never really smelled anything like it to compare it to. It just makes you feel kind of gross. And you're gonna end up coming in on the right side of the river, and so you see essentially a large section of this city that is just packed with buildings. Some are 1-story, some are 2-story, and the rows of them just kind of like peter out into the fields that are on the edges of it. They're all like either a muted gray or a dark gray. They have dark slate roofs. Very bland, very drab and almost disheartening, if that makes sense. What do you do?
Well, this place is cheery.
Make signs.
You don't see any signs yet. You do notice that as you get closer, the gross bank of smoke seems to be coming from the far side of town, from where you're entering, and it's coming from chimneys and like large cylinders that are too big to be like house chimneys.
Giants, maybe?
Maybe.
With Lilith's travels, does she recognize the city? Does she recognize anything?
I mean, in the cities that you've seen, blacksmiths and some of the industrial sections that are making things like the slates and stuff, they'll have like some smoke coming out of their stacks, and then houses usually have chimneys and such where like a kind of a grayish smoke will come out. This is on a level that you've never seen, and that smell doesn't smell familiar. It's definitely like it's not like a wood burning smell. As you get closer, you do notice movement. There are people moving around the streets. Baby!
Baby.
Baby.
Oh, look at all that hair.
I know.
Where did that come from? What? Oh my god.
You rubbed all the back hair off, but the rest of it is just amazing.
Oh,
I love that it's just
Right.
like a natural mohawk. It just is like, yep, this is what I'm doing.
Sis with the mohawk.
Well,
We should stop somebody in the town and we should ask them where we are.
Okay.
Is
what
there
about a
anyone close
grand
by that-
entrance?
Oh,
Hmm?
What about a grand entrance? I mean, you can't just like walk in and be like, "Oh, hey, where are we?" You gotta like, "Bam! This is us. We're here. Where is here?" right? That's how you do things, right?
I think you should be in charge of it, Twiggy.
Yeah, I got a plan.
Okay. So, Dizzy, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna hang back, also look for people as well to try to talk to. Someone that looks friendly, mostly.
Okay. And Lyra?
Lyra is going to go with Twiggy so that she can run intervention if need be.
Gotcha. So, as the four of you get closer, and Twiggy, in a moment I'll have you explain your grand entrance plan, but you notice like there are some cobbled streets that essentially end at the outskirts of these areas that have houses and such, but you're heading into a section that just looks like house after house after house, and they're all like very crammed together. Everything is very like packed tightly in this section, and there are people moving about. It becomes pretty obvious as you're heading into the town that they're all human. Every so often you might catch someone who has slightly pointed ears, but not necessarily like elven. And they're all wearing very drab clothing, blacks and dark grays, some browns, but even the browns look boring. The men wear like cotton shirts. Some of them are white, but they're not really like exciting in cut or anything. They're very what's the word?
Mundane?
What's that?
Oh.
I was gonna go mundane.
Yeah, they're very mundane. They're not for show. They're very utilitarian. And just very drab pants with these boots that cover them and then button up on the sides. The women are wearing high collared dresses that don't really have much in the way of flair to them or anything. They're just very I'm going to use puritanical looking, even though you all wouldn't know what a Puritan is. And the women are wearing bonnets. What's that?
Like uber Victorian.
Yeah. And the women are wearing bonnets. And as you begin to be seen, a lot of the people are just staring at you. And I'll go ahead and throw an image up for you that will give you kind of an idea. Except for I have to show two players. Show to everyone.
Aha.
Oh.
Okay.
So yeah, right now you're entering the street that has 2, maybe 3-story buildings, very drab. The smoke isn't really filling these streets, but you feel like as you enter the town, you notice that there are lamps lit, even though it's day, because it is so dark. The buildings are blocking any light, not any light, but a lot of the light that comes down, and what light is coming down is smothered by the clouds and the smoke. So Twiggy, what's your entrance plan?
Well, there's lamps. I'm gonna get close to one, not too close because I don't want to burn. I saw what happened to that moth at one time. And I have a set of bagpipes.
Okay.
I'm going to begin playing the songs of my people, which are not meant to be played on bagpipes, but that's what I got, so that's what I'm playing. So,
just describe what the song of your people sounds like.
Well, I mean, the court I come from probably would be really big into Anya. So if you can imagine, like, Anya being played on bagpipes, that's what it sounds like. Yeah. Okay. So what should be, like some Irish lady, like warbling about the sea or whatever. It's but he's gonna try and catch as much light as he can so that he can glitter and spray glitter all over the place. and then there'll definitely be hopefully if you can get enough people, there will definitely be a cha-cha-cha, and then he's going to do some heralding for the virtuoso, the bard that has come to town. You may know him. You should know him. It's Dizzy, and cha 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 cha, glitter glitter glitter.
So about the time that he has reached the Dizzy part, most of the people have fled down the street. A few are walking away, but not quite as quickly. But Lyra, with your 18 passive, you definitely noticed the group got some weird looks. They ranged from, what the hell is that? To, and a lot of those were directed at Twiggy. You noticed that some people caught, looks at Lilith, but didn't really think much about it. But you and Dizzy definitely have caught some looks. You most of all, kind of scornful. You could make an insight check if you'd like.
Yeah, she's definitely like squinting like, really? Okay.
So as you're watching them, as you're like catching these looks, and they're looking at Disney and you, Lilith looks human, even though she's like 7 feet tall. Twiggy obviously does not look human. I know, right? You and Dizzy are human-ish, but you look particularly elvish.
Oh yeah, she
right?
she definitely understands what's going on right now.
And you also realize that all of the women were like very, very modestly dressed. And you kind of glance down, right? You glance down at yourself, and you're just like midriff and like showing arm and everything.
Like, oh, okay.
So you get these like looks of I don't want to say disgust, but definitely like this like disapproval.
Judgment.
Yeah. They are judging you, and most of them then like kind of walk off and go into buildings. Dizzy, your fanfare ends, and there are a couple people, you don't really feel like most of them are looking at you, even though Twiggy like pointed you out. Most of them that are left, that are like just kind of filtering into buildings at this point, are kind of scowling at Lyra. And then most of the street is clear. There's some area down the way that you can see people didn't really take notice of the bagpipes playing. They're like huddled in groups on the ground, but everyone around you is now cleared out. What do you think there, Dizzy?
I don't really like that. So I'm just gonna look at Lyra and just I don't think this is a place where we're really welcomed. So should we just move on, or what should we do?
I'm not going to be intimidated by that. Are you?
Dizzy, go ahead and make an insight check. Okay. What you feel is what you feel right now.
Okay. I mean,
maybe
I suppose
there's something on the outskirts we can look into.
Yeah, maybe there's like a nice little tavern or something that we can go to where yes.
A waypost, perhaps.
Yeah.
Great. Lyra, by the way, is like fuming. Like she's not pleased.
Yeah.
Like she's pissed. She's real pissed.
I feel like Lyra would have noticed with that 16, like the look that Dizzy was getting was similar to the Twiggy one, except for Dizzy isn't bright orange with wings, but they were definitely judging you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Lyra's like, oh, okay. Like, All right. She's. She wants to do something stupid. It's
Let the
called
chaos
stunning
in.
people. Everyone has one. She's just like. Not really. She's not that flamboyantly like she's not like Twiggy. But
I mean-
she's like, it's called a stomach, people.
Yeah.
Everyone has one. Is more probably.
And you
like,
kind of shout it,
she's-
and you notice some of the curtains in the houses next to you like pull shut.
I was like, that's right. Fear Benjamin.
Free the belly button.
Right? She's just like, she just can't believe it.
All right, Twiggy. So when you open your eyes from like your really intense performance, there's like not really anyone around except for your friends.
This happens every time. I don't know what it is about. I mean, it works in the Feywild. Maybe it's the wrong song. I don't know. I mean, you know about this kind of stuff, Dizzy. Like, am I doing this wrong? Am I doing it wrong?
I don't think so. No.
See, I didn't think so. I master at this. Pretty good at it, really. Just go find a tavern.
Okay. So there was talk about remaining on the outskirts. Do you want to head down the street that you're at, or do you want to kind of like walk around the edge of town and look down the various streets that you can see?
Would that look kind of extra? No, not that he cares. Where are taverns usually in towns like this? In the center, or are they on the outskirts?
They're actually spread throughout, because taverns are taverns. Like, everyone wants to drink at some point, right? And so, unless you're in like a noble area, then taverns are kind of like Starbucks.
So, this is like a coastal town, right?
Yeah, it
There's
looks
a
like it.
ocean over there.
Yeah.
Well, the best taverns in coastal towns, in my experience, are by the water, because that's where the interesting people tend to come from. So I mean, outskirts sounds like fun, but you're probably going to be hanging out with a lot of grandmas. But if you go down where the boats are, that's where the spicy people are.
So when you were
Yeah.
coming down towards town, it was kind of hard to see with your vantage point, but you got the feeling that there was this river that cuts through the center of the city, and there was some kind of dock down at the end of that river that opened, like the river empties into the sea, and at that point is where the dock was. So you could walk as you were heading into town. You could go right, and that would take you in kind of this curve that leads down to the coastline, or you could go left, which would lead to the river. You couldn't really tell from the direction you're coming in whether or not there was any kind of skiff service or something that would like essentially take you down the river but remain in town. You couldn't really see if there were boats, further up the river, if that makes sense.
We should follow the river to where it leads to where there are docks, and where there are docks, there are taverns. But
I
those are the
like
fun
water
taverns.
better than I like fire. Maybe if I tell them it's a swimsuit.
You swim?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yes.
Like- We should totally go for a swim in that river.
Lyra absolutely swims. Lyra loves water.
I mean, like, that would be the fastest way to get down to the other end of the river, is to get in the river.
Lilith is not into that because she has lots of clothes on, but she'll go and like support you guys from the banks.
Throw you a rope. It's almost like a kite, but you're just in the water instead.
Good job, you guys. Good job.
Right? What does Dizzy think?
Dizzy is kind of indifferent. Dizzy doesn't particularly care either way about water, but would be a good place for a tavern.
Okay. All right, so the four of you are going to head towards the river.
I think so.
So as you turn and walk back out the street that you entered in, it takes you a minute to process the information, but you realize that you can no longer see the rise you came down. You can't see the house that was at the top of the rise, even though it would be, kind of distant at this point. You should be able to see it. There's just a wall of fog, or mist in this case. As you reach the end of the street, you look and there is 20, maybe 30 feet between the end of the road that you're on and the wall. And you look right and you look left, and you can see that the other streets also are still there. They empty out into this kind of open area, but you can no longer see that field you walked across to get here. You can't see any sign of any of the farmhouses or the orchards or anything.
So Lily has been dragging around with a sword for a while, and I think she's gonna want to check it out and see if there's any like magical powers that maybe it's linked to the fog somehow.
Gotcha.
I think she'd like to investigate or use a religion or something.
You could do an Arcana check. So you do remember that the skeletal fellow that you got the sword for said that giving him the sword was the key to getting you out of here. He didn't explain how, and looking at it, you don't see anything that reveals a way to use it to go through the fog.
Gotcha. Then she'll pull out her card again.
Oh, sorry, you cut out.
Then she'll pull out her card again.
Okay.
And ask the fellow on the card what direction they should go.
Okay.
And see if eyes will tell her.
Gotcha. So as like the frozen image of this fellow screaming, as you're looking at it, like his eyes are closed because he's like, ah! His eyes don't open or nothing changes about it to indicate any way that you should go.
Then Lilith thinks we should find a tavern.
Okay.
Lyra agrees.
All right, so continue on towards the river and walk along it until you find a tavern?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lyra is actually going to, perhaps to Twiggy's surprise, like, she straight up takes off her boots and, like, walks in the edge of the river. Like,
oh, like
Lyra,
once you get to it?
Yeah, Lyra loves water.
Okay. It's a very steep bank, but it does allow you enough to like be able to walk along the edge, and it sits in quite a ways. So essentially, you're following the district on your right, and it curves back around, and there's like a kind of an open space between the river and like it's a small field between the river and the houses. And you can see where the river enters the town, and there's like these, they're not docks, but more like decks that are built out over the river a little bit, and you can see people fishing off of them. Okay. But you do have like a bit of time to walk along the bank if you're not going to follow the line of houses as it goes back into and opens that field up. So you walk over there, and the water is very chilled. It's not freezing, but it's very cool. Kind of a dark browny kind of color. Like you can tell there's like some silt being moved along by the water. It's not like, definitely doesn't give you that like, you wouldn't drink this. How's that?
Okay. Yep.
But you do walk along, and it feels refreshing.
Okay.
anything anyone else is doing as you're walking along the bank?
I guess I'll just take in the scenery because I'm not really much of a water person.
Okay. Twiggy, what are you doing?
Hanging out with Lyra, I guess. You know, doing typical Disney crap. You know, flitting on the water, but pretend like I'm walking on it. The usual.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you get closer to town, and there's that deck, and it's going to end up being above you by probably 10, 15 feet, as it's built out over the water. You notice that the fishermen that are up there have noticed you in return, and they're kind of like nudging each other and talking, and they're looking down at you, and one is like, "Hey, what is that?" And they point. It's really hard to tell what they're pointing at other than your general group.
Better not be Lyra.
Make a perception check.
What is that? Great.
They're definitely pointing at Twiggy.
Okay.
Is that some kind of bird? What is that?
I look to the sky, but fuck. Kind of scooch in against probably Lilith is gonna be the biggest anti-bird shield. She's so big. Just kind of like scoot up and try and kind of merge into Lilith a little bit.
She does wear that tabard, and as long as she doesn't stop you or doesn't want you to, you could like climb into like the armpit of it.
Yeah,
yeah, she's down.
Anti-bird.
That's okay.
Anti-bird. Yeah, I'm gonna pop into that. Just nope, not going after any kind of what's that bird thing.
Right. So the rest of you can hear them talking. They're like, "Is that some kind of parakeet? Do you remember parakeets? That was so long ago. They used to come in off the water. I don't remember. I don't think I've seen a parakeet. What is that? Would you sell it to us? I bet you'd make some really good flies for the fish."
He's my familiar, and I'll have him eat you alive.
A familiar? Is that something that you use down at the red light district?
Oh, Lyra. Jared, can Lyra make an Arcana check to see if there's something she can possibly ask the water to do for her?
Oh, sure. Nice. What kind of thing?
Lyra just, kind of wants to ask the water to just, like, get a little, like, angry around her feet. Just, like, a little angry.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So, like, the water kind of churns and bubbles. It looks kind of, from their perspective, almost like you're standing in, like a sinkhole or something, but then when they realize you're not sinking, it just looks like it's this like angry whirlpool. I take it that's a no. Let's go down there. Let's scoot down. And they like go away from the edge of the deck that they're standing on and scoot off.
I was like cool. That's all. Lyra's just pissed, and she was like, Dad. I know.
Do you continue on into town?
Yes.
Okay. So everyone heads, and essentially, like, you get down to this. It's almost like a. I can't think of what the word is. They're on the beaches. You walk along them.
Dune.
Not dunes, but the crap.
Promenade.
Kind of like a promenade. Yeah.
Like a boardwalk?
Boardwalk. Thank you. They're kind of like boardwalks that like go down, and there are these decks built up that go off over the water, and they're built higher so you can walk under them, because there's not a lot of room. So it looks like they're anchored to buildings, and then you have to go up ladders to get on top of them, or like staircases. And it looks like there are several people on each one, all fishing, and you look across and you can see the same thing on the other side. There are some open areas and some, looks like almost patio decks that people are sitting on instead of fishing. But for the most part, it looks like the majority of this area at least has people that are fishing instead of like any kind of recreation, if that makes sense. And so you continue on and you see these buildings, and you're kind of keeping your eye out for a tavern, right? It looks like a lot of these are, there's some bait shops. There are some, like fishing shops that are selling the supplies to fish. There are some food vendors that are just walking around, like hawking their food to the fishermen. As you look at the food, a lot of it's super simplistic. It's like, here's a kind of a lettuce wrap, but you notice the lettuce is kind of wilted, and it has some kind of vegetable medley in it, and it doesn't really even smell of spices or anything. It's just very bland. Lyra, you do hear shouting up ahead of the group before anyone else does, but if you continue walking on, it becomes pretty apparent to everyone.
What kind of shouting?
It sounds like angry shouting.
I mean, we should probably go check that out.
Okay.
Like, someone stole my sheep kind of angry, or is it more like someone spilled my beer kind of angry, or you killed my father, prepare to die kind of angry?
Yeah, but that's not really yelling. That's more calm in like a scary way. Yes. So you're listening. It definitely sounds angry. You can make out every so often something about, "No, I'm not going to let my kids go to your school. Get out of here."
Can Lyra see what's happening? Like, is she close enough to like see that?
You
or
look around, you don't see it. Maybe it's coming from inside a building, or maybe there's like a street or alley. It's hard to tell because they're so thin. Like all of the streets you've been in are like super thin. Maybe a carriage could go down it, but they're definitely not like wide thoroughfares or anything like that. There is an opening between buildings over there that you could walk down. Maybe that's where it's coming from.
Well, she turns and looks to the rest of the group. Is like, go see what's causing a commotion.
Okay. As you head that direction, you notice that there's like bits of the like lettuce and some kind of like rotten vegetable material that like comes flying out of the street, not of the street itself, like out from the direction that you can't see, and this very large shadow begins like obscuring what little lamplight is being emanated from down that street.
Attached to a thing blocking the light?
I mean, you can't see it yet.
Is it moving like a exaggerated like cartoon, shadow? Like it's a like.
Right? No, it seems like it's kind of this large form that is kind of ambiguous, actually, as far as its origin.
Does
Lumpy.
it remind us of the shadow that Lilith let free?
Oh, no, that was definitely smaller.
Okay.
And more obviously humanoid shaped.
Okay. Good. Cool. I say we investigate. I
Okay.
say we go down further.
So as you move closer, you hear like the footstep of something. Like it's definitely louder than most of yours. Lilith, it's similar to yours. There's like crunching of stone, and a very large figure steps back, and it's like, "That's okay. That's okay. I never mean, you know me. I never mean to offend anyone." And it's like kind of like bowing its way out, and then as it emerges from the street ahead of you, it stops and like watches down the street and then pulls itself upright. And as it does, Lilith, you're like, because this thing has like almost a good foot on you, and it turns and looks at you, and you realize it's a very tall person, very broad of shoulder, and is green skinned, has these like very thick orange, like, kind of like dreadlock hair bits hanging out from underneath what looks like a skull with horns. It's wearing kind of furry pads on its shoulders, and then purple and black. It looks like the remnants of a coat that's just like worn down over time to expose its midriff. Kind of like Lyra's, except for Lyra's is on purpose, whereas this just seems like it's old. And in its one hand, it's holding what looks like a very long staff with a gnarled like end that is vaguely reminiscent of like a hand or something. And as it turns and looks at you, its eyes go wide. What do you do?
I mean, do I recognize this person at all? Like, is when their eyes go wide, is it like recognition or is it like fear? Can I discern what?
It does not look familiar to you. You're not really sure what this is. It's definitely a person, much larger than, or not much larger than you, but larger than you. And so
Okay.
far, it's the only non-human that you've seen. And its eyes go wide, and it says, "Elves! There are elves here! And what do you have in your jacket? Is that..."
Lilith is going to try and quiet this person down. Shh. Come with us. We'll explain everything.
Okay.
And then take this kind of like look at everybody and shrug and pull them into the alleyway that we're in.
Okay. So you were actually on the like the boardwalk area, and they were down
So
like
just-
kind of an alley street or something.
Okay. You know what? I'll ask them. Is there a pub close by where we can talk?
Wow, elves. Yes, we could absolutely. Is that what you're wearing? Do you have a cloak? Do you have some kind of? I mean, I don't have any
If
issue
you like
with it.
your tongue, I suggest it stop moving.
No. I have no issue with it, obviously. I mean, if I had a longer cloak, then it would cause me less problems, but it's hard to find things for people my size around here, and no one wants to make me one. So for your own, you know what? Let's just. I know a fairly decent place. Maybe they'll let us. It shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Good. So Lyra had no intention of changing.
She reaches out a very large, meaty hand that is tipped in these like claws, but it looks like the claws are like painted to match her hair. And she says, "I'm Helvetica. You can call me Veti for short."
Betty. I'm gonna shake Betty's hand. She seems sweet.
She just like stops and or like she turns to go, and then she like looks at you all again and smiles. She's like, elves, I haven't seen elves in ages, and starts like walking down the boardwalk.
I mean, like, who doesn't see elves? Like, elves are like everywhere. You see them every day. Like, I mean, have you guys ever not seen an elf? I mean, like, come on.
I mean, I see an elf every time I look in the mirror, so...
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there were like a ton of elves in the Feywild too. They call themselves but like.
As you're
whatever.
talking, she like every so often, you notice she glances back and looks at the direction Twiggy's voice is coming from.
From the cloak.
Right.
Safer here. It's safer here.
And you come to a building that has like a hanging sign that just has like a beer mug on it. There's no words or anything. It's just a beer mug. And as she pushes the door open, she kind of has to lift it because it's obviously only one, like there's one hinge attached to it. And she opens it up and sets it down and ducks down, walks through the door, and then stands up. And even standing up, like she has to kind of like lower her head to be able to stand upright. And she walks in.
All right, I follow.
Okay. Same thing, you got to duck to get through the door.
Yeah.
And as you stand up, the top of your head is like brushing the ceiling. And it's not even like an open, like a lot of the taverns you visited have either high ceilings or they have like an open ceiling that you can see essentially the roof, the inside of the roof, and there's like cross beams and such. This is like a flat ceiling and it's very low. Everyone else following?
Oh yeah, Lyra
Yeah,
definitely
I'll follow.
needs a drink.
Okay.
We need a drink.
Right.
Let's go.
Please.
As you head in, Vetty walks up to the bar and like tilts her head to look around a corner that you can see there's like an open doorway. Hey, Gregor, are you here? Gregor! And this fellow walks out. Make perception checks for me.
Okay, perception.
Nice.
Oof. Brutal.
Yeah.
Lilith, Lilith, you're the only one who notices this. As this person walks out of like this back area, they're holding like a mug, and looks like they're wiping it as clean as they can with a dirty rag. But you were pretty sure before they walked out they were much skinnier and taller. Then as they come around the corner, it's almost like they shift and there's like their belly grows out, they get a little shorter. The hair on top of their head thins. Oh, Betty, good to see you. And they converse for a moment. What do you do?
You know what? I think I want to bring attention to what I just saw. Like, what? You seemed to be. You just changed form right now. What's up with that? I'm new here. I wanna know.
Yeah. So they both kind of look at you, and Vetty nods knowingly. And she leans down. She's like, Gregor is a shape changer.
Then why change shapes when you come out?
He kind of grins and he's like, most people think it's better to get their food from a heftier person, because like the hefty person is going to eat the food that they're giving them, right? As opposed to like a skinny person, they don't want to buy the food from them because they're like, you don't eat your own food, So why would I buy food from you? It's just
That's
a
a natural law.
Yeah, it's just a marketing ploy, really.
It's just a marketing ploy.
But he finishes wiping it down, stuffs the rag into the thing. Hi, I'm Gregor. And he leans over.
I'm gonna shake Gregor's hands.
Wow, I haven't seen elves come through here in an age.
So tell us about the elves. Why? Why is everybody so like racist about toward elves?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily. It's weird to see elves come through here. Is all.
Is it their clothes?
He kind of glances at Lyra. I mean, that's a little racy for Paradon, definitely. There's some cloak shops right down the way if you want to get anything. But you know, for the most part, it's really your choice. Just expect, like, you know, Vedi here to be called out for showing so much skin.
Oh my god.
Lyra's like, so I've noticed. This is my caring face. She just... Yeah, she just, nope, doesn't care.
So, what can I get you all?
I want an ale. The best you have.
I mean, we have one ale, so it is the best that we have.
Take your one ale.
Right.
I'll take the strongest thing you have, please.
That's probably the ale, yeah. Would you just like 3 ales? 4, including you, right, Vedi?
Do you have any wine, or are you just ale?
Let me see if I have any wine left. Hang on. And he goes into the back, and Vedi's kind of just hanging out, looks at you all and smiles.
All right, I'm gonna let Twiggy out. So, because there's no.
I
birds
knew that
here.
was a
We're
fairy.
inside.
Where did you...
We're inside. It's okay.
As you let Twiggy out, and I assume, Twiggy, you come out, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's promise of ale. This is already a good start.
All of a sudden, Vedi moves sharply, and she brings that stick down, and its claw swipes towards Twiggy, and Twiggy, you just barely like feel it coming. Like there's this push of wind, and because you were so apt at staying away from seagulls, you know, oh my god, there's seagulls in here, and you like move out of the way as this like clawed end goes swiping that way, and she's like,
Lilith is gonna grab that and pull it down.
you're lucky it didn't bite you.
This
I
is
can't.
I'm gonna
This is
pull my
friend.
rapier out and just be like,
Yeah.
what are you
Oh, yeah.
doing? You can't.
Lyra
you can't
already has
just
her dagger in her hand.
swing.
Like, oh no.
Like, this
You-
is our friend,
you-
and if you're gonna be with us, you cannot harm our friends.
Yep.
The fairy's your friend?
Yes.
More than.
Oh my god, it
Companion.
talked.
Yeah.
Where did you find a talking fairy, and one that wouldn't bite you?
Oh, I've bit them a few times. I mean, by accident.
This is very strange. What a weird day. Whew. She's gonna like set the staff down, and as she's like been holding it, you realize that it's less wood and more like very dried, leathery flesh stretched over something inside of it. But the clawed end of it is actually a hand. It is like a very desiccated hand, and it looked like it moved as it tried to grab Twiggy. But she sets it down, and as she sets it down, Gregor comes back out, and this is what's left of the wine, and he sets down like a glass that's about half full. It may be a little funky.
Hey, I'm gonna take a sniff and see, like, you know, if it smells like vinegar or if it smells like wine.
It smells like it's on the edge. There is definitely usually you wouldn't drink it. Whether you want to drink it now because it's what's left or not.
Yeah. And I will just, I say beggars can't be choosers, and I'll just take it.
Okay. She uses her free hand. Vetty picks up her mug and starts heading over to a table and sits. The chair she sits on is larger than a lot of them, but it still groans under her weight and size. It looks like she's sitting on a child's chair when she sits down, essentially. Do the rest of you join her?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suppose so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as you all sit down, she kind of scrubs some stuff off the table and flicks it. Well, welcome to Paradon. So glad to meet you. And that's where we'll call it for this week.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun,
Dun, dun,
dun.
dun.
Dun, dun.
Any questions?
What a weird town.
Lyra hates it here.
Same.
It's her cloak.
What's that?
Bella's cloak. I want to mend her cloak.
Oh.
Just
So using the spell mending, or you want to find some fabric and sew it on there for her?
I don't think I have mend. I don't have mend.
Okay.
I think I want to find some fabric and just kind of patch her together. 'Cause
Okay.
she seems real nice, but also she just needs a chance. She needs a win.
Well, we will see what happens next week. Thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you all had fun. If anyone has any questions, drop me a message. Everyone else, join us on next Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Same bat time, same bat channel. And have a good week. Bye, everyone.